Welcome to this episode of the Scowcroft Center for Strategy and Security's The Future of Food in the Americas series. My name is Peter Engelke, and I am a Senior Fellow with the Geostrategy Initiative in the Scowcroft Center, where I lead the Atlantic Council's foresight work. From the seeds that farmers plant, to the crops they harvest, and to the produce that finds its way to markets, agriculture and agri-food supply chains are essential for getting food from farm to table around the world. Yet despite enormous progress, there still remain obstacles standing in the way of global food security. The world's farmers and the associations that elevate their perspectives are central to ensuring a more food-secure future. Canada is a key player in the Western Hemisphere's agri-food system. Its agriculture and agri-food industries comprise one of that country's most important economic sectors. In 2024, Canada's agri-food system employed 2.3 million people, provided 1 in 9 jobs, and generated $149.2 billion, or around 7% of Canada's gross domestic product. For this episode, we will discuss how one organization works to ensure farmers' needs are heard and their operations are sustainable. We have with us today Keith Currie, President of the Canadian Federation of Agriculture. The CFA is an organization formed in 1935 as a unified voice for Canadian farmers. A national umbrella organization, CFA currently represents approximately 190,000 Canadian farm families across the country. So Keith, welcome and thank you for joining us. How does Canada and Canadians view food security at home and globally?
Certainly, food security has become a big issue for Canadians right across the country. And we see food security as really the cornerstone to both national security and also economic stability here in Canada. And it's really one of the key reasons why we feel there's a need to invest in the resilience of our agriculture system. When you look at things globally, we're looking to make sure that we strive to be that stable, competitive agri-food system supplier in international markets. We're facing some growing geopolitical tensions and some trade disruptions, but really as Canada grows more food than we actually consume, we feel we have the ability to really help feed the world. Encouraging the government of Canada to invest further into domestic production, especially on the value-added side is certainly a top priority for us, but also in much of our transportation infrastructure to make sure that we are that trusted supplier getting food to those people around the world.
So I mentioned at the outset that CFA represents approximately 190,000 farm families across the country. In your position, how do you see Canadian farmers' biggest concerns?
Well, I think certainly right now, what's first and foremost overall is farm income. We look at the rising costs that we're facing, and certainly interest expenses are a big factor to that. We've seen almost historic farm debt levels coming on. Certainly some trade uncertainties are leading to that. Some of the geopolitical decisions that are happening within our North American free trade system is leading to that. We're dealing with labor shortages both on farm and throughout our value chain. It's become a chronic issue that we're looking for ways to minimize that or improve that. And along with labor comes labor disruptions here in Canada. I believe we've had something like 10 railway stoppages in the last 6 years. That certainly has led to loss in production, billions of dollars in lost production. So we need to really hone in on how we fix that disruption aspect from a labor perspective. Certainly, as we are dealing with a changing climate around the world, that's no different here in Canada. So how are we dealing with the frequency of severe storms that are happening, whether that's drought or rain events? And I think the biggest thing that we're dealing with on an ongoing basis, which our government currently is hoping to deal with, is the regulatory burden that we face. In the last budget, Prime Minister Carney did say that he's looking to modernize our regulatory framework system, which we are welcoming because really farmers is businessmen at heart. And so when we can lower that regulatory burden on our farms and our small businesses, I think everybody wins. And so we're certainly looking to that to not only help our businesses survive, but also really to innovate and help grow our industry. So I think we need to make sure that we have all those things in place because some of our largest trading partners are also starting to become a little bit more volatile and unpredictable. And so we have to make sure that we can minimize the trade implications that are going on around the world.
Yeah, and one of the key elements of trade, as you very well know, and you've already mentioned in a previous answer, is infrastructure. How can Canada improve its supply chain infrastructure so that it can move agri-food goods across the country as well as around the world.
Yeah, we're really looking for those key impactful investments by the government really into the trade infrastructure, not only to improve the supply chain, but also potentially open up new markets for us. And railways and ports are a key part of that, as are roads. There's a lot of truck traffic going from Canada to the U.S. So those key type of transportation infrastructure investments are important. We really only have two rail lines. It's a duopoly, if you so say, look at it that way. So our railways have a little bit of control over how things work, and recently we were able to get a pilot project on interswitching, which would allow other rail lines to come into Canada and help move products. Certainly, our two railways have been pushing back on that, but we think the interswitching offers an opportunity to have more competitiveness in the rail transportation aspect of moving our goods. So we'd like to see that aspect continue, and really, as I mentioned, kind of reform some of the labor laws that are surrounding our transportation to make sure that we don't have the disruptions going forward. Also, I think if we can modernize our existing Canada Grain Act to really help ensure that our grain handling keeps pace with the market needs that are out there and the changing market needs. We're looking at ways that we can harmonize our standards so we can use digital solutions for easier crossing of borders, whether that's with the United States, Mexico, or other partners around the world, and really how we can use it for things like electronic photosanitary certificates that'll help not only streamline travel throughout Canada in our subnational states and provinces, but also through international trade as well.
What should Canada do most, I should say, to improve its agricultural policies, including, again, as they relate to the expansion of Canada's agri-food exports?
I think we need to see our regulatory frameworks become aligned with Canada's growth objectives. And I think that can be done by mandating regulators to really support food security and competitiveness. We're also pushing to see accelerated markets and trade diversification to reduce our reliance on a few trading partners. We really relish the aspect that we are geographically very close to the United States, and our countries are so integrated in trade that it's become a matter of convenience. To a certain extent, that's become a little bit of a detriment by putting all of our eggs in one basket. We are still going to have the United States as our largest trading partner. It just makes too much sense for that not to be the case. But I think the more that we can diversify our trading partners around the world, that will certainly help diversify and reduce our reliance on that one partner in case there's disruptions like we're seeing currently with the United States and Canada around geopolitical trade issues. The other aspect that we've been pushing for some time is to speed up approval of products like critical farm inputs, crop protection products that farmers use every day by adopting trusted international partners' reviews on the use of their products. So, in other words, get us access. Look at trusted jurisdictions around the world that we rely on, and peer review their approval processes in order for us to get access to products quicker, so farmers can have more competitiveness in those markets. And I think that would be really key to some further success, future success for our Canadian farmers. And one last thing too is make sure that I mentioned labor earlier, but the temporary foreign worker program here in Canada in agriculture, by and large, is working quite well. And we want to make sure that program not only stays in place, but remains robust and provides opportunities to create permanent residency pathways for some of our experienced workers as well.
Is Canada's innovation ecosystem well positioned to address the various challenges that you've laid out here that face the country's agri-food industry? And how should Canada leverage its opportunities when it comes to emerging agriculture technologies?
So Canada has done a very good job of creating new innovative technologies. In particular, our struggle has been the lack of policy or investment to really bring those innovations online. Having the government look at things like tax measures, such as accelerated depreciation for farm equipment, which we just saw introduced in our recent budget, is really a great way for farmers to be able to invest in those new technologies on farm. And the more collaboration we can have between both the government, industry, and the research institutions, I think, so we don't limit that scale of emerging technology here in Canada on precision agriculture in particular, but also climate resilience and supply chain optimization is really a key to helping agriculture technologies get implemented and driven economically here at home.
Wonderful. And let me ask a final question. Of course, it's topical, top of mind for all of us, and that is the question of impacts of U.S. tariffs.
It's created a lot of uncertainty, at the very least, and it's really started to destabilize some of the integrated supply chains that have been built over really the last 30 years. And as a result, it's done nothing less than increasing the cost for both Canadian and U.S. producers. Countermeasures by our own government risks harming our own farmers by both restricting access to critical inputs like fertilizer, machinery, and seed and crop protection products, things like that. We've really been encouraging our own government to exempt essential farm inputs from any future retaliatory measures and maintain that open, predictable trade under USMCA or CUSMA, as we call it here in Canada. Most of our products, I should say, that are covered under CUSMA are still tariff-free, but there are a number of products that are not, and things like aluminum and steel, which are adding cost to machinery, to parts and fertilizer, certainly have driven up costs and led to that shrinking of margins for farmers, and certainly leading to uncertainty and farmers having to make tough decisions going forward. CFA signed with 90 other major farm organizations here in Canada, signed a paper or a joint letter to our government, to the Prime Minister, to make sure that we maintain the USMCA CUSMA deal between Canada, US, and Mexico, to make sure we ensure that stability for farmers in all three of our nations. I think that's really important.
Well, Keith, thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
Thanks, Peter. It was great to be here today.
Keith's perspective is just one piece of the puzzle within the agriculture and food industries within the Western Hemisphere. You can explore our previous interviews in the Future of Food in the Americas video series on our website at atlanticcouncil.org. Thank you very much for watching.